You asked me to choose a period, something that interested me, something that I wanted to talk about, not because it was easier, but because I chose it based off what I wanted to do. So I chose the Renaissance. The Renaissance period wasn't dictated, but was a gradual approach from the Middle Ages, opening the Europeans up to new things, like exploration and the arts, and upholding neoclassicism from the Greeks and Romans, which seems to be a popular trait throughout the periods, that even though some things change, that they develop, that their core values still are connected back to the Greeks and the Romans. The Renaissance was a development from the 14th century to the 17th century, starting in Italy. This was very much so a European period hinged in the back of multiple European leaders, like the Medici family. It focuses more on the individual and the embrace of human achievements in arts, and indulging in humanism as a more prominent worldview, even more so due to the ability to print documents with the Gutenberg printing press. The Reformation spread, ultimately assisting in the spread of the Renaissance. Whether you realize it or not, everything is intertwined. It all connects. From the printing press, to the arts, to the Reformation, to the royals supporting the Renaissance movement. This era indulges in the complexity of the finer things and glorifies the simplicity within the world. Even the speech of the day sways you. When I think of the Renaissance, I think of the movie Ever After, or the religious wars called the Crusades, or even my personal favorite, the Louvre, which hosts the Mona Lisa, a famous Renaissance painting. Each reminds me of this period with a touch of history, making euphoric to the beholder. When I watched Ever After, I loved it because it beheld the beauty of the time, but it didn't leave out the horrors. Even though it was just a movie, it doesn't mean that it can't help you to understand the time, because it broadcasts the realistics of the distress of not having anything, like Danielle, but still seeing the beauty in everything. The movie even incorporated Leonardo da Vinci, who painted the Mona Lisa, and rulers like Francis I and Prince Henry, who were multiple leaders who had some play in the Renaissance. Ultimately, some of my favorite paintings, like the Mona Lisa, my favorite movies like Ever After, and my favorite places like France and Italy all have some part of the Renaissance. This era, like Enya, wasn't perfect, but was beautifully intense, like all things that are interesting. I loved the culture, the rebirth, and the creativity developed. It was like the passion finally got put back into the people. An age of rebirth that highlighted the intellectuals, not for their wealth, but their ideas, their creations, that inspired passion in others and excited the royals. Most people assume that because they had no money, that they were worthless. No one saw anything in them. But for once, their money, their power, their lack of it didn't affect, because their ideas made them something. It's kind of like they finally saw fit of how it should be. The fact that maybe money wasn't everything.